It's cheering for me. Even though they don't understand a single thing about Magic, they're still cheering for me. They see standings.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the coverage of Mythic Championship number 3. I'm Maria Bartholdi, that's day 9. We are closer than ever at locking in our finals match here at this $100,000 tournament to the winner, and so much prestige winning a Magic Arena tournament.
Wow.
Whew! But we've already got one of our finalists locked up, Matias Leveratto. Let's see how he got there, because he had to fight his way through Brad Nelson here in our upper finals.
I don't think there's a person that we've spoken to yet that hasn't said, yeah, I think I'm favored against Leveratto in this match. You know, an Esper hero feels good post sideboard. If there's an aggro deck, they're always happy to be up against Simic Nexus, but Matias Leveratto navigates these weird opening hands so calmly.
I feel like every hand is weird with Simic Nexus.
Yeah.
Just honestly.
I mean, you're playing a different game. You're not
Absolutely
as health-focused as you are just combo-focused, just trying to get it off. And it's kind of funny. We've had so many long, epic matches. This series was like 7 minutes long.
Did
like
it?
the whole
It did
thing.
not take too long. Yeah, Nexus of Fate was able to do its Nexus of Fate thing, and Tamio, Collector of Tales here, a real all-star for Leveratto at this point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, once Tamio finds Wilderness Reclamation, it lands, and that one Callous Dismissal, it's such a clever tech card. In many Nexus of Fate decks, that is the only win condition that you really have, the Amass 1, that seems like extraneous text there. Nope, not for Leveratto. Uses it as one of the tools, but then also has Nissa, has whatever the land is that turns into a 3/3 creature. I'm sitting here trying to remember it. Mobilize District. There we go. I found it. Yeah. All these little edges just keep on adding up. And when you have a Thought Erasure and that's the hand you see, I mean, I guess you choose.
Yeah, it's got to be a little scary here for Nelson, because Leveratto's hand is just stacked. We've got ways to drag the game out, these Root Snares. We've got Chemister's Insight to refill our hand. We've got Callous Dismissal to eventually close the thing out, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, that is probably one of the worst feelings ever, and I love that Paul pointed that out in commentary, that you Thought Erasure when there's a Tamio out, and you just get to look at the hand and go, I guess I... and the game like makes you choose. You're like, I guess I pick this card, and then Tamio glows, and you're like, oh, God. Triple Root Snare doesn't matter. There's a Chemister's Insight in hand. There's a flip, search for Azcanta, and really, the win condition of this deck truly is Azcanta, Wilderness Reclamation, and any card other than that lets you get the Nexus of Fate with such extraordinary consistency.
And now he's got the Wilderness Reclamation out, so now it's kind of like the world is Matias Leveratto's oyster here. And there's Nexus of Fate.
And really, if you look over at Brad Nelson's hand, this is some of the risk of Esper Hero. Yeah, Elite Guard Mage is great. Obviously, Hero of Dominaria, or Teferi Hero of Dominaria, is great. Tyrant Scorn, a dead card. If you get any whiff on land, any whiff, it feels like the Nexus of Fate deck can just immediately run away with the game.
Talk about Nexus of Fate as being a deck that wins very slowly, which, you know, like, I suppose you could say technically it does, but if it gets all of its pieces together, it's unstoppable.
It's really a deck that needs to be disrupted on turn 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
There needs to be some disruption. And yeah, Esper Hero is good at this, right?
That's true.
Technically, with the Thought Erasure and the Hero Precinct 1, technically that can occur. But I mean, this second game is just an instance of brilliant sideboarding. Bringing in Paradise Druids, bringing in Biogenic Ooze, triple negate, and suddenly you kind of have awkward suite of cards. Like, this opening looks so perfect for Brad, right? Hero of Precinct 1 coming out on turn 1, or getting to 3 mana. But the next few turns just impressed me so much from Matias Leveratto. We're going to see so many opportunities to play cards that don't get played. Like so, right here.
Yeah, here we go. Here's Hinterland Harbor he's going to play at, or a forest rather, and up against Hero of Precinct 1. And what are we going to do? Just pass the turn back?
Yeah, why would you do this?
Back. No big deal.
Yeah, there's Mortify, there's D-Spark. The danger is in one of those, ending the game and again with 5 mana out.
Just pass it back.
Biogenic Ooze is there. You have 3 negates. You have to look at your whole hand and think several turns in the future. How are you going to win this game? Well, actually, let's ask ourselves, how do you lose? You lose because you're unable to use these negates, and the cards that are actually proactive threats don't ever manage to get off. So the instant Brad Nelson taps out with that Elite Guard Mage, this is when Matias Leveratto springs into action, and Paul pointed this out before. There's enough mana up here to not just get one ooze and keep a negate up, but also to have the second negate up. I'm so impressed that Matias Leveratto didn't play anything with 4 open mana, with
Such
5
patience.
open mana. Brilliant timing, and this was kind of a hilariously fast game.
Yeah, and here we go. We've got the Biogenic Ooze down on the table, blocking basically everything that Brad Nelson wants to do. And even though he's got a suite of awesome cards in his hand, what can he really do here? Matias is doing exactly what he wants to do, controlling the board.
And I mean, look at the hand now that Matias Leveratto has. 3 negates with an enormous threat on the board. If you just slam down that Wilderness Reclamation, slam down the Biogenic Ooze, it immediately gets to Spark, it immediately gets Oath of Kayad. But just by waiting a little bit, suddenly it seems invincible. And it's finding these types of weird lines that Leveratto has done again and again and again and again all weekend long.
Yeah, and he did not have to play the game this way either. You know, if you're a fan of the Simic Nexus deck, the patience that he exhibited early on in this game is really paid off for him here.
And it's funny because Esper Hero is about slowly building up momentum, slowly denying threats. Brad Nelson tries to throw out a D-Spark just to stop that Biogenic Ooze. But too late.
Yeah.
3 negates in hand. No
See
big
the
deal.
fist pump there from Matias Leveratto. He has locked up a spot in our finals, but we've got to find somebody to fight him. So, yeah, let's take a look at our bracket and find out where we are. By the way, hi, Paul Chian. What's
Hey,
up?
Paul. Hey, Paul. Paul's been hiding there all along.
Hi, Paul.
Just happy to be here.
Great. So here you go, top 4 bracket from today. There you can see our grand finals. One opponent, Matias Liberato, but who is going to put up their dukes, Kai Budde or Brad Nelson? If that seems familiar to you, you're right. Look at that from our uppers. This is a rematch here from the German juggernaut and the Master of Standard. Budde versus Nelson going to fight once again. Brad beat him the first time around. Kai's like, no, we're not going to make that twice.
You know, I want to reiterate the sort of same thing we were talking about previously. These two players, they're running the same deck, Paul, with a 1-card difference.
Yeah, the difference being Mortify over Ugin. Brad Nelson playing Mortify, and Kai decided, you know what, I don't need the removal spell. I want to go over the top and just give you that one Ugin, which really has done a lot of work for Kai.
Yeah, I mean, really the Ugin, even though it just seems like 1 card, just one little tiny difference in there. These decks typically are drawing the top 15, 20, sometimes 30 cards in the deck, especially against each other. They go on very long. Ugin the Ineffable has shown up, I want to say, in like 70-80% of Kai's Esper Mirror matches.
You can find cards in this deck.
I mean, the thing with the Esper Mirror matches is the games do go kind of long. So ultimately, it just comes down to who kind of lands and sticks their big threats, right? So you have Ugin the Ineffable or Commander Dreadhorde, which we've also seen kind of take over games.
And once again, you will recognize this deck list. It's the same one we just saw, except there's a Mortify there on the bottom. And what is going to be very tricky for each of these players is how to very subtly disrupt one another. And there's the play you've seen many, many times. Teferi Time Raveler allows you to cast sorceries at instant speed, and then you Thought Erasure right after your opponent draws a card to again try to deny, to slow down. There's duresses in the sideboard as well.
Yeah, so the key to this matchup is really, I mean, this is kind of a game of inches. You know, you're trying to get incremental advantage, draw every single possible card, squeeze every single possible amount of value out of all your cards. Playing Hostage Taker and making it so that it's safe to play a Hostage Taker and play the creature that you steal in the same turn so it doesn't die to a removal spell. Making sure you bounce your Oath of Kaya and you can replay it to kill the appropriate Planeswalkers. All of those things are very, very crucial to this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, even just bouncing a 1/1 token is such a significant move.
You know, and this is a rematch not only of earlier today, but we've been telling this story all day, but also a rematch of 2010 at Pro Tour Amsterdam, where we get to see our 2 babies here, Baby Brad and Baby Kai. And Brad took this one down. He took the one down earlier today. Oh boy, he's got another chance to do it again.
Kai had brown hair, it looks like, in this one. So, you know, it's been a very, very long time here.
Kai has wizened, and Brad has got some hair gel in between now and 2010. Look at that.
We call that a glow up.
Yeah, and one thing, actually, after the last match that they played, Brad Nelson kind of jabbed him a little bit, goes, you know, Kai, quote-unquote, never loses on Sundays, and he beat him. But because of the nature of this format, Kai actually has the opportunity to get the final word in and beat him in this round.
Yeah.
All right, Day 9, I want to know, we already saw them play once. Are you going to stick with your Brad Nelson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Brad Nelson. And one of the reasons why, I think that Mortify actually has a pretty significant role in this matchup. If you can get that Mortify down early, you have a lot of opportunity to start building that slow, overwhelming advantage. And in this last match that they had, it really was who was able to stick the hero of Precinct 1 that wound up being kind of the deciding factor across both of their series. So I think Brad Nelson is going to be my pick, but I'm not that confident about it.
Okay, great, great. All right, Paul, from you, confidence level and also your pick.
I'm going to go with Kai, because Kai still has the opportunity to not lose on Sunday. He's gotten it done in the past, and I think he's going to do it again.
What a story this would be. I mean, Brad Nelson has lost for the first time just hours ago and could potentially be out. Kai Budde, on the other hand, lost first round in lowers yesterday and won out in order to advance to today. And he could do it again to get his first championship of the last many, many years, but his 8th overall. Let's see who's going to win this match and head to the grand finals.
Thanks, Day 9. It is getting crowded in the studio as players from the whole weekend are filling in to watch their friends compete. Coming to the stage right now, the Hall of Famer, the German juggernaut, Kai Budde. The 2010 Player of the Year, one of the best in Constructed. Coming to the stage right now is Brad Nelson. All right, let's head over to Alias and Cedric for the call.
Thank you very much, Becca. We are about to see 2 of the game's greatest players go head-to-head yet again. It's like they can't get away from each other.
They really can't. These 2 young bucks, 2 of Magic's elites, are about to have one heck of a Planeswalker party, because that's what this matchup is all about. It's got Teferi, both big and small. It's got Narset. And for Kai, got that small advantage there with the Ugin. That could be a game ender, as we have seen so many times here this weekend.
Oh yeah, Oogie Woogie wants to boogie. Stole it from you. I hope we get to see all the Planeswalkers on the board, and I hope we get to see one massive Elder spell just taking care of every single one on the board. That would be wonderful. That's what I'd like to. That's always a good time when all the Planeswalkers just hit the dirt at the same time.
Oh, that Elder Spell advantage is, I mean, it's fantastic. It's just one aspect of a very complicated matchup. We saw these 2 players play a pretty lengthy affair already once today. They are good pals. They have a history of playing against each other, and they're going to take a look at some opening hands to kick things off. This one is a little bit close. Both these opening hands I don't think are
Where is the
ideal.
blue?
Yeah, they're not ideal opening hands, and we're going to see at least one mulligan.
All right, so the mulligan, finding the Hallowed Fountain and the Swamp. I like to call it a swamp, but we'll call it Swamp for this game. And taking a look at the other side, we've got a keep from Kai Budde, got the Godless Shrines, the Hero of Precinct 1, 3 Thought Erasures as well. We're going to see the Thought Erasure. Does it go to the top or does it go to the bottom for Brad Nelson? It's going to go to the bottom. We're going to try and find the 3rd land. Both players are looking for it. Command the Dreadhorde off the top for Kai Budde. We're not going to see that for a while, but it could become a massive factor in this game. Starting things off, we got the Hero of Precinct 1 on the board for Brad Nelson. And there is, yet again, no blue source for Kai Budde, but we do have the 3rd land.
It's an interesting start here for both players. Brad scries to the bottom, drew a copy of Hero of Precinct 1, needs to find lands to be able to cast Mortify into Teferi, but has Tyrant Scorn, which is a card that doesn't play a huge role in this matchup. He's going to use that to take care of Kai's Hero of Precinct 1, make a token, and start getting aggressive here, while Kai is going to kind of flounder around here a little bit unless he draws blue mana.
He needs to find it, and he hasn't yet. The Tyrant Scorn off the top. Another spell he cannot cast. He can't do anything with his hand at the moment. He is in big trouble. He needs to find this blue source and fast, because Brad Nelson is just running away with the game at the moment. Watery Grave off the top though, so now Kai can start doing stuff and things, friends. Let's see what the first play from Kai Budde is going to be.
Now, he only gets to play 1 spell this turn, so he's got to choose wisely. Pardon me. He looks like he's going to poke a hole here with the discard. However, he's going to be unhappy to see that there are 2 copies of Teferi as opposed to 1. Now, your hope, if you're Kai, is the following. Brad doesn't draw a land, and then I'm able to fire off another copy of Thought Erasure and take the other Teferi and leave you with Mortify and ideally an irrelevant card. So this is a huge draw for Brad.
That's another Teferi though. That's not great. We just got rid of 1. We've replaced it with another one. Kai's going to see that, but he does have 2 Thoughty Rages, so if luck is on his side, Brad will whiff twice, not find the 5th land, and be able to get rid of both of the Teferi hero of Dominarias.
Now, some interesting things are taking place in this game. Once again, Kai's had to take some damage from his lands entering the battlefield untapped. Brad doesn't have the quickest of clocks, but it's enough of a clock, so now that Kai has to consider, all right, am I supposed to play Teferi Time Raveler and bounce the hero or the token? Am I supposed to play Tyrant Scorn and kill the hero? Or am I supposed to try to fire off a discard spell again? Do I need to get lucky and have you not draw land number 5? There's a lot working itself into the equation, but I don't want you to forget about Command the Dreadhorde, which in this particular game, with Kai being at 8, is not looking particularly good.
So firing off the Thoughty Rager, seeing the replacement Teferi in the hand, you can see his face. It's like, oh, are you kidding me?
Yep.
Seriously? Ooh, D-Spark off the top, though. That's a good answer to the 3rd Teferi, if it comes to it.
Yeah, I think Kai's thinking about keeping this D-Spark. Again, this is interesting because he's going to take 3 more points of damage from hero and the token. No clean answer to that because he only has access to 1 blue mana.
He's on 8 life.
Yep.
Just for those of you who are only listening, he's on 8 life at the moment. There we go.
There it is for Brad. That's what he needed to find. Not only does this allow him to cast a fairy, but this means Hero of Precinct 1 is going to generate another token as well. It's a heck of a draw step there from Nelson.
So we will see the swing in, but first let's draw a card off of Big Bro Teferi, finding an island to accompany the Mortify in hand, swinging in for 3 points. Kai Budde is down to 5. He needs answers, and he needs them very quickly.
Now, this is still very doable for Kai here. He's got a D-Spark that can take care of the Teferi, and he's got the ability to play a Teferi Time Raveler as well and bounce one of these permanents. It's a decision between Token or Hero of Precinct 1, but he actually looks like he's going to go a Tyrant Scorn as well and take care of the actual hero. So Brad's going to be able to attack for 2 points of damage and bring Kai from 5 to 3, but Brad needs to get this game over with.
He does indeed. He has drawn a land off the top. That's not going to help him. The Mortify can answer a creature threat, but there is none to be seen in the hand of Kai Budde, who's going to run out to Teferi Time Raveler and possibly send away another token, just keep him alive a little bit more. Yep, that's what's going to happen. Send that back. Well, send it into oblivion because it goes nowhere. And the remaining token can take care of Teferi or just keep chipping away at the life total.
Huge draw for Brad.
Hero Precinct 1 replacing itself. The token is going to swing in, get Teferi Time Raveler off the board, into the bin. Command the Dreadhorde is a dead card at this point.
Oath of Kai would be a heck of a draw, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Ooh,
that's a
hello.
little better than Oath of Gaia.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Hello, hostage taker.
Almost messed this
All
up.
right, let's
really
check.
bad.
That's true. Kai said, I almost messed this up really bad. He's got to leave with Daughter Razor and take care of the Mortify, and you can hear Brad say, oh, no.
I mean,
So Thoughty Rager is going to get rid of the Mortify, allowing him to play the Hostage Taker, and Brad Nelson will need a timely top deck to get rid of the Hostage Taker, who will take the Hero of Precinct 1.
Tough to say.
imagine.
It can take Hero of Precinct 1. It can also take the token, which eliminates the token for good. I'm not sure which one Kai wants to do. We will see here momentarily because he's obviously going to be casting the
almost
Human
played this
Pirate.
first.
You can see
we go.
Brad resigned to his fate a little bit here. So the thought process is the following. Don't draw something to take care of this Hostage Taker, and then I'll play Hero
I
of
was
Precinct
thinking
1
of
next
that, so I
turn.
was thinking about Mortify.
What does he draw? What is it? It is an Elite Guard Mage. That is not
what
going to
if
do
you
it
look at it
yet.
first?
He could draw something off the top, off of the Elite Guard Mage. What is it? It's an Isolated Chapel. That's not going to kill a Hostage Taker, but it does give him an Evasive Flyer, or Evasive Threat in the air, in the Elite Guard Mage, so he is on a 2-turn clock.
Flying is nice here because
Oh,
of
yeah.
what you mentioned. It is a 2-turn clock, but it being a 2-turn clock is notable because that means that Kai is going to get another draw step here. Now, again, remember, Kai is at 3.
Oh.
So the fact that he is at 3 means he could die to Oath of Kaya right now, and that's very important to note, even though Kai's draw
Does he
step
get it?
looks good.
It's a Teferi. It's a Teferi Time Raveler. It's not what he needs to get the job done in one fell swoop. There is an Elite Guard Mage on top of the library for Kai Budde, so we are going to pad that life total unless Teferi Time Raveler can find something for Brad Nelson.
There are some redraws here. Oath of Kaya, again, is probably the best draw for Brad because he wants to get this game over with, but he will think about how he wants to use his Teferi. I expect to see him actually bouncing something here, though I'm not sure what. Hero of Precinct 1 probably makes the most sense.
Yeah, because it goes back to his hand. That is his critter, finding the Tyrant Scorn.
That's actually a very good draw, too, here, because now Brad can play Hero of Precinct 1 and Tyrant Scorn in the same turn to take care of a permanent if he'd like, and it looks like Kai is going to fall down to 1.
Ooh, we have seen Kai at 1 life many times this tournament, so don't discount him yet. There's the Elite Guard Mage blocking the opposing Elite Guard Mage in the air. We will get another card off the top of the library as well. Very tense moments here for Kai Budde as Brad Nelson continues to apply pressure to his life total.
Love Brad's play here of not playing the Tyrant Scorn right away. There's no reason to cast it immediately on his turn because Kai does not have a Teferi Time Raveler on the battlefield, so he can kind of pick and choose his spots on how he wants to use this removal spell. Keep in mind, Kai doesn't know that that's the card in Brad's hand. So I'm... Kai lining up an attack here?
If not, why not? Don't freak out. It's okay. Breathe, Cedric.
I'm kind of in heaven right
You're,
now.
Oh, good. Okay, good. He's not going to pass out, friends. We're fine.
I love an aggressive attack when you're a 1 and you've got to want to play defensive.
Yeah, why not? All right, so Teferi Time Raveler hits the bin. Elite Guard Mage entering the battlefield, gaining 3 life for Kai. He's on 4 now, and we'll draw him a card.
Kai really wants a 3-mana spell to play off of this.
Come on. One time. That's a Hallowed Fountain. Not going to do anything for him this turn.
Kai's still alive right now, though, it appears.
Yeah, he's in a good spot.
Bad draw
Glacial
from Brad.
Fortress. Not what Brad Nelson wants to see. You can see the shake of the head there. Starting to stress a little bit. Needs his library to behave. Needs to find some of his card draw engines
That was
to really take this game.
That was a really, really heads-up attack from Kai. It's risky on the surface, and it might play out being risky, but Kai's thought process is, if you draw some sort of removal spell, if you draw big Teferi, you draw small Teferi, you draw anything, I really can't win anyway, so let me take the opportunity to hope that you brick. I'm going to kill your Teferi. We're going to move forward accordingly. It's risky, but I like it. But I'm even more curious to see how Brad's going to use this Tyrant Scorn. As he's clicked on it, he's dragging it around, he's thinking about how he wants to use the Dimir removal spell.
I always imagine when players hold up their cards in Arena, I imagine on paper you're like holding it and like taunting your opponent with it like this. It's like,
You're waving it
"What
around
is
in a big circle.
Yeah. I have a friend who does that actually. It's really annoying.
Interesting.
Ooh, nice. Nice. We're going to draw another card here.
Yeah, this is an interesting line here from Brad. As opposed to using it as a removal spell, he's going to bounce his own Elite Guard Mage, make another token or 2, and then draw another card. Pick up a copy of D-Spark, which is awesome as well.
That kills the Elite Guard Mage on the other side of the board.
That was a really, really nice line of play there from Brad. It would have been straightforward and simple to maybe say kill one of those tokens.
Oh, here we go.
But this ends up being really, really, really nice here by Nelson.
Unless, what can Kai draw to even help him in this situation?
Hostage Taker isn't a bad draw. Take the Elite Guard Mage.
It's a hero of Precinct 1. He's got nothing in the air to help fend against this Elite Guard Mage. So it looks like Brad Nelson is going to steal this first game.
Unsurprisingly, Brad found the perfect use of Tyrant Scorn in that situation to generate a lot of tokens, draw more cards, gain more life, and build an overwhelming advantage. You'd expect that from Standard's best player.
Indeed, you would. Elite Guard Mage going to swing in here for the 2 points of damage. Game number 1 goes to Brad Nelson. Both these players are fighting for a spot in the finals against Matias Leveratto for $100,000 and a spot at the next World Championship. So it is all on the line here, friends.
It is sideboard time. You see Duress is going to come in here. Another copy of Command the Dreadhorde. Elder spells are, of course, on their way in this Planeswalker party. There's a lot of options here for both players. They're, of course, working with the same sideboards as well. The only difference here is the Mortify that Brad has as opposed to the Ugin that Kai has. So they're going to sideboard somewhat similar. Hostage Takers on their way out. It looks like Tyrant Scorn going to be headed to the bench as well as these players get situated for another sideboarded game. They've played a lot of this matchup against other opponents and themselves because they've played earlier in the day. This is when it starts to get pretty good.
Now, you mentioned a Planeswalker party. Do you think they like to boogie, or do they just stand awkwardly on the corner with their drinks?
I think some are more boisterous than others, you know.
Domri,
think
perhaps?
Yeah, Domri likes to get kind of a little wild. Xenagos likes to get a little wild, the Reveler, of course. But I think Ugin is probably in the corner just contemplating things.
Yeah, playing with his glowy orb
Yeah.
thing. What is that? It's pretty.
Just hanging.
Just hanging.
Nothing too crazy going on. I think that Teferi Time Raveler is probably a lot more fun than Teferi Hero of Dominaria because Hero of Dominaria appears to be a little bit older.
Oh, yeah.
And so the older you get.
But don't forget, Tybalt is the rakish
Yeah,
instigator. He's
not
going to get
invited.
everyone boogieing.
No, he's not invited.
He's going to get all these stoic, yes, I'm Teferi, hero of Dominaria. He's going to get them on the dance floor. Come on.
Okay, well, that wouldn't be so
Teferi's
bad.
going to bust a move. Mark my words. We'll see it. It'll happen.
These players taking a little bit interesting about the sideboarding here, just because, you know, they've played this matchup so much, and I think they have an idea how each other are going to sideboard, but now this is the weird game of one-upsmanship about Kaya's Wrath, and do I want to bring that in or not, and all that good stuff. So we're going to see how these players elected to sideboard. You can get a great look at both sideboards, but some cards are going to show up. Command the Dreadhorde is still going to be very important, and we know the Planeswalkers are important, even though a ton of them didn't show up there in that first game.
This Argos Bloodfast has been an interesting tech card in this matchup. We've seen it draw extra cards where the opponent is sitting top decking. Do you think it's going to have a big impact on this match?
There are situations where it certainly can. When you are being attacked by Hero of Precinct 1 and the tokens, it can actually look quite poor, but there are situations as well where players have Planeswalkers and there's an empty battlefield. You're able to use your life as a resource to draw some cards. So we'll see how Kai is going to elect to use this, because he might not even be able to activate it for the first couple of turns.
Yeah, and there's also the Mortify in Brad Nelson's hand, so we can deal with it if it becomes a threat for the standard master. Just deciding what he wants to run out first. Are we going to see Authority Rager, or are we going to get the Hero of Precinct 1 down and cooking? Let's see what Kai's response is. He does have the Oath of Kai in hand, so he can dispatch up the first Hero of Precinct 1. There is a second in Brad Nelson's hand, though, along with a whole bunch of other goodness, but he needs to find his third land. No other land in hand for Brad Nelson at this moment.
Pretty important draw step here for Brad. It's another copy of Thought Erasure, so it's not a land. He still has things to do.
Yeah.
You know, he can fire off the discard spell, or he can play another copy of Hero of Precinct 1. I'm curious which way he wants to go, because this, in Thought Erasure, does give the opportunity to find a third land because of the Surveil.
So Authority Rager will get rid of one of Little Teferi's. Dovin's Veto off the top for Kai Budde. You see the shake of the head there. He likes that. He's all right. Let's see if we can land. There we go. Third land for Brad Nelson, allowing him to play either Narset, Hero Precinct 1, or Mortify, as well as the second Authority Rager.
I like the play here from Kai a lot. He had the opportunity to deploy Teferi Time Raveler, electing not to do that, leaving up Dovin's Veto, or the ability to activate Argul's Bloodfast twice. So he's giving himself some more optionality here by not playing Teferi and being a little off-kilter with his mana. Pretty smart, but you'd expect that from Kai.
Oh, yes. You would expect that from someone who's won 7 Pro Tours.
Yes.
Yep. For those of you who are new to Magic, Magic Arena, Paper Magic, if you want to get a masterclass, go back and watch these games between Kai Budde and Brad Nelson. Mortify.
This is a fun little line of play here from Kai as well. Kai had the ability to activate Argul's Bloodfast just once and then leave up Dovin's Veto, but he doesn't want to play the game by leaving up Dovin's Veto the entire time. So he says, you know what, I'll tap out, I'll draw 2 cards. If you have your 1 Mortify, you can kill my enchantment, which did happen, but Kai using his Life Total as a resource to draw a bunch of cards, get deeper into his deck, and work himself deeper into the mid-game.
So you mentioned a Planeswalker party. We do have the ender of all Planeswalker parties in the Elder Spell in the hand of Kai Budde now. He's taking a look with Authority Rager, finding another Authority Rager in the hand of Brad Nelson, Narset, Tyrant Scorn, Teferi, and Hero of Precinct 1. All very pesky cards you don't want to deal with. What do we pick here, though?
There are a lot of options here. Kai going to take a look at the battlefield. He wants to take a look at what lands Brad is working with here as the rope begins to tick away. Kai might have to use a timeout in this instance, but you look at Hero, that can start to get an aggressive slant for the game, and Kai doesn't have an answer to that one just yet. Looks like he's going to select that. Glacial Fortress, I'm curious if he wants to leave it on the top. It looks like it's going to go to the bottom from the Surveil.
Does have the 5th land, so he's alright to cast his most potent spells in Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, so we'll find another land eventually. Let's run out the Teferi Time Raveler. Start ticking up.
One thing that Kai has done a really nice job of is kind of getting an idea of how this game is going to progress. He's got Dovin's Veto to counter maybe a big Command the Dreadhorde or something else. He's got D-Spark to be able to take care of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. And he's also got the Elder Spell in case Brad is able to generate an overwhelming advantage with Planeswalkers. So I like his positioning, but I also like this play here from Brad of getting an idea of what Kai is working with.
Brad still not finding the 4th land. He is getting mana screwed. Authority Rager gets rid of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. We got the 6th land off the top. Brad is only on 3. He needs to find land to stay in this game. There it is, 4th land for Brad Nelson. It's a little, just a little comforting, being like, okay, all right, I'll get to my Teferi eventually. Just give me some time here. And luckily, in this type of matchup, the players do have time. It's not always over in 4 turns like you would expect with the mono-red decks or the white aggressive strategies. So He's all right.
That's generally a longer game. You do have those games occasionally where Hero of Precinct 1 does run down your opponent. We saw Brad do that somewhat in the last game.
Yeah.
But this is generally how the games are going to go. It's going to be a lot of back and forth interaction. It's going to be a lot of planeswalkers, and you're going to try to be proactive while also, weirdly, trying to be reactive. Kai's hand right now, for example, is pretty darn reactive with a counterspell, a removal spell, or 2. Actually 3 with Oath of Kaya, and a discard spell that can be played in the draw step thanks to Teferi. So Kai's being reactive to what Brad is doing while Brad is trying to get proactive and get back onto this battlefield and catch up on lands.
So Oath of Kaya hits the battlefield and dispatches of Narset, Parter of Veils, keeping 3 mana up for a draw step 40 Rager like you mentioned. Also the Dovin's Veto.
What's unique about this is there's no guarantee that Kai is going to fire off this Thought Erasure on the draw step. It's merely an option that he has afforded to him, but he also probably wants to keep up Dovin's Veto as well. So again, Kai keeping his options available, and Brad is trying to figure out exactly what Kai has available to him. Keep in mind, Brad does know about the Dovin's Veto, the D-Spark, and the Elder Spell. The one card he doesn't know about is the one that we're highlighting right now in Thought Erasure.
Brad Nelson has found the 5th land, so he can play the Teferi here of Dominaria, but he's not going to play that into Dovin's Veto at all. So it's a bit of a game of cat and mouse now. He's going to fire it off anyway, being like, all right, you want it? Here you go.
What's notable about this particular play by Brad is he's playing this into the maw of a Dovin's Veto. Again, he knows Kai's hand of the Dovin's Veto, the D-Spark, and the Elder Spell, so he knows that this Teferi is not going to last very long. It could have gotten countered, or it could be killed via removal spell. So Brad's thought process here is pretty simple. This card is not an elite card at this stage of the game, so I just need to kind of move past this stage of the game, tap all of my mana, do something with this card. It's not going to live past this turn. You're going to answer it in some capacity, Kai, but let me get my card or tuck something away.
Tucking is the option here. We are putting a little Teferi back into the library, 3rd from the top for Kai Budde. So the Thought Erasure and the Elder Spell are turned off at this point. Taking a just breathing in.
Yeah,
oh, there we go. All right, the emblem was still there for Teferi, Time Raveler. So now let's take a look, see what we're dealing with on the next turn. Revealing the Narset Parter of Veils, which he hadn't known about previously.
Yeah, I like this here from Kai. He had the opportunity to fire off D-Spark, but elected to go with this instead. Going to take the counterspell. Unsurprisingly, going to surveil the land to the graveyard. This is also going to get him one step closer to Teferi Time Raveler that was tucked away as well. You know that's the top card of his deck now. Brad knows that as well. So D-Spark looks like the line of play here from Kai, or at least he's considering it to take care of Big Teferi.
Every single play we've seen so far from both players is all very deliberate, very careful, making sure they're not missing anything. Everything there's a lot at stake here today. It's do or die for both players. And we're going to see the Elite Guard Mage run out, get little Teferi back in hand, or are we? Are we going to keep up that Dovin's Veto, rather?
Yeah, this is interesting. Kai is weighing the option of playing Elite Guard Mage right now to draw the Teferi Time Raveler back, and then maybe deploy that next turn, or leaving up Dovin's Veto. He's going to go with drawing the Teferi Time Raveler. Brad is working with perfect information, except for the top card of Kai's deck. He knows that Kai has Dovin's Veto, the Elder Spell, and Teferi Time Raveler. We can see the battlefield, the light totals that both players are working with. The only unknown source of information right now for Kai is the Elder Spell that Brad just drew and the top of his deck. So we'll see how Brad wants to move forward on this turn.
Brad Nelson is going to fire off the Narset Parter of Veils, trying to goad out that Dovin's Veto, but no mana available for Kai at this point. So Narset's going to start digging, finds the Oath of Kaya.
Oath of Kaya is an interesting find in this situation. Brad can't cast it, of course, because he only has 5 mana, 2 of which is untapped, so he has the access to Tyrant's Scorn. But Oath of Kaya is something that can check Planeswalkers. We do know that. It can also take care of the Elite Guard Mage as well, so there's some optionality with that card, too. Don't know how Brad plans on using it, but we will see what his plan is moving forward. And I kind of like this, too. Brad's plays are getting very creative, because you would think bouncing Elite Guard Mage probably isn't the wisest thing to do because your opponent gets to draw another card, but he wants to get another Narset activation. That's exactly what that means.
Well, we have drawn an answer to the Narset if we so choose in the second Oath of Kaya, but we might just see Teferi Time Raveler hit the board and bounce the enchantment, or allow a... yeah, maybe allow an Elder Spell on Brad Nelson's turn.
Yeah, I think holding the Elder Spell is such a high upside card that he may want to hold it now, but there's also the potential to just play it and move Teferi up a couple of counters. Brad, I think, saying here, I'm not going to get too greedy with this, or excuse me, Kai saying I'm not going to get too greedy with this. Elder Spell, potentially. As you mentioned, bouncing Oath of Kai and replaying it is also an option, so there's a lot of options here available to Kai. It looks like he's going to go with the Elder Spell and grow Teferi Time Raveler up to 6 loyalty, then down to 3, bounce the Oath of Kai out, and what that means is that he can also use the bounce again next turn with Teferi.
So Brad Nelson drawing a swamp off the top, elects to play his own Oath of Kaya and get rid of Teferi Time Raveler on Kai's side of the board. Another land off the top for Kai Budde. Gonna run out the Elite Guard Mage, get some more life, some more cards, and present a threat in the air, which Brad Nelson currently doesn't have an answer for.
You got to remember that Brad did bounce that Elite Guard Mage back to Kai's hand via Tyrant Scorn, so he knew this was a play that could occur as Brad has drawn a couple copies of the Elder Spell. So now as this game continues to progress, here's what you know. Brad's got Planeswalkers covered. He has 1, but 2 copies of the Elder Spell. So he doesn't have to worry too much about Planeswalkers. The thing about Planeswalkers is they come in and they generate advantage right away. So big Teferi in this instance, well, it's going to draw a card right away. So even if Brad kills it with the Elder Spell, you're going to have Kai up a card on the exchange.
Finding the land for the turn, Hallowed Fountain will enter the battlefield untapped. We're going to run out Narset, Parter of Veils 2. Let's go digging through the library, finding answers. There's a replacement Narset if we so choose, but nope, let's go for another Dovin's Veto. The Elite Guard Mage swinging in for 2 points of damage, taking Brad Nelson down to 17.
Now, the nice thing about having redundant copies of the Elder Spell in this instance is that you're able to plow through the Dovin's Veto that you know your opponent has. Kai is going to, I think, predictably play the Dovin's Veto, and that's going to counter the first Elder Spell, and I think Brad is actually forced to play the other Elder Spell to manage these Planeswalkers. So he's got those Planeswalkers taken care of, but remember that little difference in deck list between the Mortify and the Ugin? I think we're going to see, well, I thought we were going to see Ugin. I don't think we will anymore.
Oh, there's a Command the Dreadhorde, though. Between the two, not too shabby, but if I can go digging through with my 24 life and pick out as many of your critters and mine as I could possibly want, Planeswalkers included, I'm going to do that instead.
And you saw Brad talk to Kai very quickly there and say, command the Dreadhorde, and Kai said, yeah, that's what I've got because I'm going through your graveyard. He's going to fall down to 9. Brad knows he's dead right away. He immediately concedes the game. When games go like that, that's when Command the Dreadhorde is fantastic. Both players have a very high life total, so then you can get everything back and there's no coming back. If you saw like the other game where Kai couldn't cast Command the Dreadhorde because he was too low, that's where it's bad. So games take different shape and different tenors. That was one of those games where if either player drew Command the Dreadhorde, most likely it was going to be a game winner. But Kai was also very protected with those 2 copies of Dovin's Veto.
Exactly right, and you heard Kai there saying, oh, tense. That was intense indeed. We are going to game 3 in this lower bracket matchup between Brad Nelson and Kai Budde. They are fighting for a spot in the finals of Mythic Championship 3 against Matias Leveratto, who's already secured his spot with Simic Nexus. So both of these players with everything to play. There's $100,000 on the line. It's a nice chunk of change.
I am super pumped to watch Matias play some more Magic with Simic Nexus. He is so adept at playing that deck. One of the very few people playing it here this weekend. There were 3 total. He's moved on to the finals. And even if he loses the first time in the finals, it's double elimination. So someone's got to beat him twice. That is no easy feat. But you know what? Brad Nelson, Kai Budde, they are 2 of the very best. They might be able to get it done.
Yeah, I think so too. At least for Matias, he knows he's fighting Esper Hero. Just got to know if he's fighting against an Ugin or a Mortify.
Yeah, he would prefer to be fighting against an Ugin, trust me. That one's
Mortify,
not very good.
Yeah, that Mortify is a little scary for Wilderness Reclamation. But before we get there, we have to sort out this matchup between 2 of the greatest players in the game. Brad Nelson, Kai Budde. Here it is, a final game in this matchup. Let's get things underway.
Brad made a funny tweet after he beat Kai last time earlier today. He said, you know, Kai Budde doesn't lose on Sundays, in quotes, basically. And Brad is trying to beat him for a 3rd time. Beat him once in Amsterdam in 2010. Beat him here earlier today. Can he do it a 3rd time? It's time to find out. I can't wait to watch this game unfold.
Opening hands are set. Let's kick things off. We got Hallowed Fountain and Godless Shrine on the battlefield for both players. We're going to start things off. We have Hero of Precinct 1 in the hand for Brad Nelson. No creatures at the moment for Kai Budde.
Hero Precinct 1 is such an interesting card in this matchup because it's your first test spell. And as a result, that means that you have to leave in Tyrant Scorn to be able to take care of this. Fortunately for Kai, he's got the answer. He'll kill the hero. And so the first test has been passed.
So, no more things on the battlefield. Let's keep do-si-doing, as you like to say. Duress now going to take a look at the hand of Kai Budde, Dovin's Veto, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and the Elder Spell. All options for Kai.
These are all really good
Sorry, all options
cards.
for Brad.
These are all really good cards to know that Kai has in his hand. That allows you to play around them accordingly. However, that's a heck of a draw step there from Kai. He did not have that when that Duress got fired off. That is a Teferi Time Raveler that I have to imagine will be joining the fray here momentarily.
So Kai just weighing the options, taking a look at his hand, taking a look at the board state, and Teferi Time Raveler. Now in the fray, we're going to start plussing, minusing actually.
Yeah,
drawing cards.
Yeah,
drawing
minus and just
cards.
get that card. Make sure you're hitting your land drops, working yourselves towards big Teferi, as it were.
Big Teferi. 40 Rager, though, dispatching of said Teferi. He is now in the graveyard, and Brad Nelson's got 2 big T's to look forward to, but he's got to find his land drops. He needs to find lands 4 and 5. Oath of Kaya can keep him safe.
Yeah,
For the time being.
This is an interesting situation here, too. So Brad takes a look at Kai's hand, and he sees 2 Elder Spells, a Hallowed Fountain, and a Watery Grave. He's looking at Teferi Time Raveler and thinking, I'd like to have one of these on the battlefield because, of course, it will allow me to tick down and draw a card if I want to pursue that option and get me closer to lands, or I can put this into the graveyard now, and perhaps the top card of my deck is a land. He's going to go with the latter.
Land off the top for Kai Budde. He wants to find a bit more action than this. This is not going too great in terms of draws in the early starts of the game.
Kai's hand is purely reactive right now. He's able to manage Planeswalkers, but he's not doing a good job of actually putting on any pressure. So it's going to be an Oath of Kai here by Brad to take care of the Teferi. He's solved that problem, but he still doesn't have land number 4, Alias.
He doesn't. He needs to find that rather swiftly. And Kai needs to find something that's not land as he's drawn a Hallowed Fountain in this turn. Still just with 2 Elder Spells. Not much else cooking. There's another big T. That's not what he needs. Brad Nelson needs to find land, and soon. But on the other hand, Kai is flooding.
Well, and we have an interesting situation. Brad has no lands. Kai has all lands. Brad has Planeswalkers. Kai has Elder Spells. So once Brad actually gets to his Planeswalkers, Kai has answers for them. If you're Kai...
Hey, there we go. 4th land, and we're going to see the Elite Guard Mage hit the board.
If you're Kai, you are hoping to probably draw a copy of Command the Dreadhorde, or at least you were. I'm not sure how good that card is right now, even though you have a ton of life to work with. Duress isn't a bad place to start, but now the problem...
See 4 Teferis.
Yeah, it's 4 different types of Teferis. The biggest problem right now for Kai is he's beat on the battlefield.
Yeah.
He's really far behind, and Brad is starting to build an advantage with all of these creatures that Hero of Precinct 1 is going to make. So Kai needs to find a little something to do, and real quick.
He needs Oogie Woogie who wants to boogie. Let's see if we can find Ugin, the Ineffable, off the top. Kai's in a pickle. He sees these Planeswalkers. He has an answer for them, but still, there's creatures on the board, and creatures like to swing in at your life total.
Curious how Kai wants to poke a hole in this hand. You see the Elder Spell. Obviously, Kai doesn't have any Planeswalkers right now, so he doesn't have to really worry about that at the moment, it appears, but it's all these Planeswalkers. 3 copies of Big Teferi, 1 copy of Little Teferi. Little Teferi is the one that Brad can cast, so it looks like he's going to take that card. The Elder Spell is just looking okay right now with regards to Brad deploying a Planeswalker. Brad going to get a better look at what Kai's working with here in a moment, I think.
But first things first, let's swing in 4. A bunch of damage taken, Kai down to 13, Thought Erasure creating another token off the Hero of Precinct 1 and getting rid of the 1 Elder Spell, seeing the 2nd, as well as the Drowned Catacomb.
I do want to mention that the more these attacks do happen from Elite Guard Mage, Hero of Precinct 1, and the Little Knuckleheads, the worse and worse Command the Dreadhorde gets here for Kai. It was a game winner last game. It's looking more like game number 1 now as he's fallen down to 7, where it's almost an uncastable card.
Narset Parter Veils enters the battlefield. We're going to go dig in for Brad Nelson, who is firmly in control of this matchup. Stumbling on lands a little bit, but now he's sitting pretty. I think in this instance, better to get a little bit screwed than flood as badly as Kai Budde has. Oath of Kai off the top. Ooh, Dovin's Veto could be useful, but 2, 4, that's a lot of damage, and Oath of Kaya will be the nail in the coffin unless the Dovin's Veto comes to the rescue, which it's going to have to. Here we go. Is this it? Not yet. We got 1 more turn from Kai. 1 more turn from Kai.
Will
But
Brad actually play Oath of Kaya on this turn is the question. He can try to go for lethal, and you see that Kai does have the Dovin's Veto. Brad could also lead out with Narset instead. It's very easy to just say, obviously just cast the Oath of Kaya and get the game over with, but Brad wants to think this through.
Yeah.
This is why he's such a great player, is because he's so far ahead now, but the great players slow down when they're so far ahead and really think about their decisions. There's only one card in Kai's hand that Brad doesn't know, and Brad's going to try to go for the W with the Oath.
here we go, Oath of Kaya, creating another token off the Hero Precinct 1. It's going to get Dovin's vetoed. Kai is handless now, drawing a Godless Shrine off the top. That is going to be it for Brad Nelson. Swing in, good sir. Take your spot in the finals. Congratulations. You are still in this, sir. Excellent game.
Kai can't beat him. Kai can't beat him. Brad Nelson has beaten Kai 3 times on the Sunday stage, and it's a fist pump for him. He's going on to the finals to play against Matias Leveratto, who he's already beaten once, but Matias got the better of him earlier today. This is kind of the matchup I was hoping for. These two players in the ultimate grudge match for the title. This should be so much fun. Simic Nexus, Esper Hero. We've got Standard's best player in the world in Brad Nelson. I think we might have the best Simic Nexus player in the world in Matias Leveratto. I love it. This is why we do this.
It's going to be a fantastic matchup between the two. Let's see if Brad Nelson can do the almost impossible and beat Matias Leveratto twice.
Yeah.
But let's just round of applause for Kai Budde coming back and basically giving every single player in this tournament a masterclass in how it's done.
Yeah, Kai still got it. No doubt about
Amazing.
it. And it actually is kind of scary, the thought of, I know he didn't have the opportunity to prepare a lot for this tournament. BBD and Brad helped him a lot, helped him with the deck list, and then Kai was kind of learning as he goes. And to see him learn as he goes and gets 3rd place, I'm just saying if he were able to find some time to maybe play a little bit more Magic and rededicate himself to the game the way that he did in the early stages of his career, it would be very scary to think of what he would be able to accomplish. I know a lot of people talk about how John Finkel has had 2 Hall of Fame careers, which is very true, but I always wonder in the back of my head, what if Kai was like, you know what, I want to play a lot of Magic for a couple of years and see what I can do with the new crop of players. He's still as good as he ever has been, but for some reason, he couldn't take down old Brad.
Speaking of Brad Nelson, Becca is with him now. Let's hear from our winner.
Wow, Brad, that was incredible.
Yeah.
You took down Kai again. But what I want to know is, what were you thinking in that last turn when you really were considering what that one card in Kai's hand might have been?
So I was thinking about, I was trying to do the math on it. I thought it was Dovin's Veto. And if it was, I was doing the math like if I bait with the Narset and try to get that countered, that if he goes runner, elite guard mage, if I still deal lethal with the Oath. And I think I did, but I was running out of time, and I just was like, you know what, I just want to win right now. I don't even know if it was the right play, but like I just couldn't do it. I was too emotional.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of being emotional, what would it mean for you? Because you're about to head into the grand finals now. What does this trophy mean?
I mean, I still have to win 2 matches now. Like the trophy means everything, but like the most important thing I've always thought playing Magic in general, or just competitions, is I like to play the last match. I just like to be there at the end, and they're my favorite matches. And the last time I was there at a Mythic Championship Pro Tour was when I did play Kai in it as well. So hopefully that this time goes better, but I'm just very happy to be here.
Absolutely. Now, you did mention you are going to have to win 2 matches to beat Matias Liberato because you were in the lower bracket and he's in the upper bracket. What do you think about this matchup? Because you've already played them. It's a rematch.
Well, it should be a good matchup, but he's making it as hard as humanly possible on me. I mean, I hope that I win, but like at this point, I'm definitely the underdog now. I have to win 2 matches in a row. I think I might be favored in each individual match, but the way I've been drawing against him, I don't even know. So.
Well, good luck to you. We're heading into that grand final game, so stay tuned. It's going to be Matias Leveratto versus Brad Nelson for the trophy here in Las Vegas.
We'd like to take a moment to thank Omen by HP for providing the competition hardware for this tournament.
The Omen 15, Omen's newest laptop, is light, thin, and can be customized however you want.
That's right, the Omen 15 can be configured with up to the latest 9th generation Core Intel i9 processors and up to an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 with Max-Q design.
Check it out now at omenbyhp.com.
My name is Eric Froelich. I'm in the Magic Pro League and the Magic Pro Tour Hall of Fame. It just so happened that my entire 5th grade class really just started getting into Magic. I wanted to go to the local game store. I went with my dad and we bought a nice little starter kit at the time. My dad ended up reading the entire rule book, teaching me how to play, and I played with my classmates. I ended up finding myself winning and advancing all the way to the top 8 and qualifying for the Pro Tour at 13 years old. And at that point, I was just fully immersed in wanting to go to every major